Folks, welcome to Mesa, Arizona, and joined today by a cosmic character, a guy from the southeastern part of the United States. Has wound up here with his family, is a huge fan of the Chris Robinson Brotherhood and just a music fan in general. And it's an honor to connect with him. Lafe, Lowman, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Growing up in Georgia, can you talk about the kinds of, like how musical events were, what kinds of things you did as gearing up for the going to see live music? How early did you go, and what was the festivities like prior to? Early on, I mean, like the significance of music as a spiritual experience, not just fun. Just riff on that.
I think when you first start going to shows, like when you're in high school or whatever, it's kind of this it's this thing, where you get together with buddies and maybe you sneak some booze from someone's parents' house, and maybe someone's got an older brother, that deals, and you get high or whatever. And I think at first you're just filled with so much excitement, the what ifs, the spontaneity of rock and roll, that I think it's a all American experience, so to speak, a rite of passage, I would say, for a teenage boy in the South, or probably most places around the country. But
sneaking a flask in.
Sneaking a flask in, yeah,
But I mean, can you talk about a concert early on that defined your desire for live music?
I would honestly go to a Black Crowes show. The first Black Crowes show I attended was like in 1998, I believe, and it was at the Fox Theater in Atlanta.
A beautiful venue.
Yeah, great venue. That's where they did the premiere of the Gone with the Wind, which kind of put that venue in Atlanta, many ways,
it's like
culturally
clouds
on the map.
There's like beautiful.
Yeah. It's kind of like it's got that, it's got that mystic feel, because you look up and you don't just see curtains or black.
Right.
Yeah, so I would say that was one of my first experiences, because I was familiar with Chris Robinson and the Crowes. But, I'd kind of fallen into, like, a lot of, stuff that was, popular at the time in rock music in the 90s. You're going to shows where, the louder the riff, the more angsty, the vocals, and it was kind of, even though you're a white kid from the suburbs in the South and you don't have a lot to be angry about, it's kind of a, that was really what I gravitated to a lot. Even though the Black Crowes had always been there, you were always familiar with them. So I would say going to that show just really set it off for me, as far as that journey that you take that's beyond just seeing those 10 or 12 songs at a show and the encore and good night. It was, to me, that blew my mind, from that opening riff of God, what was the song? It was it wasn't.
Here's the point. What you were talking about before, the slash and burn, like the metal rock.
Yeah.
That was not the Crowes, though. In your mind, what separated the Crow? Because I never saw them, although all my friends loved them dearly. What separated them from all the other cats that were crashing and slashing and burning on stage at that time?
I think it was that they were staying true to to rock and roll and the fundamental tradition of what rock and roll is. It's a thing where there is spontaneity. It's a thing where you're connecting with the audience, with the music. And I heard a lot of the music that I think I heard in the radio growing up, in the car. You heard the Stones, you heard Led Zeppelin without actually hearing those bands, and then you dug a little deeper as you were in the show, and then you would hear an Allman Brothers song. You'd hear them cover these songs that you were familiar with. Then you'd hear them cover songs that you weren't familiar with, and I think in many ways, the Black Crowes was kind of that rabbit hole that I went down, with rock and roll music. And it really kind of took me away from that kind of angsty, dark, drug-induced kind of, not that all rock and roll has to have drugs in it to be dark, because there's a lot of happy songs about drugs too. But
absolutely.
I think it really opened my mind to how rock and roll can make you feel, and I think it was an introduction, in many ways a reintroduction to a lot of artists, that influenced the Black Crowes. You get to meet, not just the Rolling Stones, but you get to meet Humble Pie when you listen to them. You get to meet the Faces, and you get to meet Dylan, you know? And, you know, you think, you know, Dylan is this artist that just kind of rambles on with an acoustic guitar and singing out of tune, but, you know, you hear his music through someone like Chris Robinson and Rich and the way they played it, and then you're like, okay, I think I'm going to go check those albums out.
Well, it's funny. I've caught some hangs with Jim Keltner and Fred Tackett, and those guys were on Dylan's gospel tours in the early '80s, and it's just the most burning, electric music. And I must say, my appreciation for Dylan has just grown immensely. I just love what a badass he was. What tunes was Chris covering from Bob that you saw?
Seen him. I think I saw "She Belongs to Me." That's an awesome tune.
That's great.
Tonight I'll be staying here with you. You know, it was tunes that like I was vaguely familiar with. It was kind of like it kind of haunted you because you were like, where have I heard this? Where have I heard these lyrics?
I dig.
You know?
I dig.
But then it stuck with you because, you know, they played it, you know, with a more traditional kind of upbeat rock and roll feel, you know, and then you go home and you listen to the Dylan version, and I'm not gonna lie, at first you're kind of like, dude, I want Chris and Rich's.
Well,
you know?
I mean, but that's I would say the same. Though when I hear Garcia covering "She Belongs to Me," but that doesn't. That's neither here nor there. I want to talk to you about today, the show tonight. Chris Robinson Brotherhood performing at the Marquee Theater here is in Tempe, and one thing that I get off on about that band is just the unpretentious nature of them as a group. They're not there for the entertainment value. They're there to burn.
Yeah.
And I just want you to talk about this current iteration of the band. What you're looking. I mean, we all are sort of missing Neil Casal, a legendary character, but Loy Akano's in the band. What tonight is different than any other CRB show because I've never seen Greg Loy Akano with the band.
Yeah, you're totally right. You know, I've talked to, you know, some other heads, some other freaks, and
freaks,
you know,
that's right.
And everybody's kind of, you know, like, oh, what's going on with Neil? Is Neil coming back? I need Neil because Neil is very much a part of that sound. And yeah, they're right. You know, it's just like how the Dead put in all those hours, months, years playing with that core of Garcia and Bobby, you know, and that's a part of who they are because they hone that sound. And you know, not to make, you know, light comparisons of the Dead and CRB because there's plenty of heads that would kill me for doing so.
Just go, man.
But you know, I see that comparison in that sense that Neil and Chris, along with Adam and the rest of the you know, the crew, they've put in a lot of time on the road and rehearsals, and they've honed that sound to where it just kind of it flows through them, you know. And so then you wonder, you know, with the break with Neil and Greg coming in, is it going to flow, you know? And you know, that flow comes with the amount of time a group of guys put in together. But I think too, you have to understand that Greg is, you know, no schlep, so to speak. You know, I mean, Greg has put in a lot of time of his own playing and honing his craft, and Greg does have, you know, history with Chris. You know, they play. I
just saw him 2 weeks ago. They got the simpatico is good, and the chemistry is important.
Yeah. And I think overall the fans, you know, we're nice, easygoing people. I think we're going to be accepting of Greg, you know, as he's, you know, burned through some shows the last few weeks, and we get our chance to see him, you know, for the first time tonight with CRB. But I think it's going to be good. I think, you know, Greg is a very accomplished guitar player. He's written a lot of beautiful songs on his own with the Hips too, and in his own solo endeavors. So I think we're going to get something cool and unique tonight, you know, with Greg putting his own spin on, you know, these songs that we're used to hearing, you know, Neil play lead on.
What are your thoughts on? I noticed that we had a couple of mutual friends in relation to the band Midnight North.
Yeah,
Graham Lesh and Elliot. Have you seen them play?
I've not seen them play. I mean, other than, you know, YouTube videos and whatnot, I've yet to see them live.
They need to. Well, they did come here with the Terrapin Family Band, but
that's true. Yeah. I've seen them in with, you know, Phil, you know, doing Terrapin Family Band numbers, but I haven't seen Graham and Elliot, and doesn't she have a new album too?
She has her own. Alex Jordan, I'd be remiss. The man, their organ player, and is a badass. But I mean, can you talk about a little bit about what music means to you? You have two young sons, but I mean, in general, what does it mean? What is the significance of music for you? A lot of people would say that in our society today, the significance of music has changed, especially with the younger generation, because it's more for multitasking. It might be done more. Music is made for pacification now, or it just might be for background. What does it mean to Lafe?
I think, it's funny you mentioned that, because I read an article earlier on how vinyl is making music to where you get the records, you bring it home, or even still a traditional CD, although I don't think people are buying too many CDs.
Records are actually, it's funny, it's like soon they'll have like analog cassettes coming back, but the records are on the fly,
But the records, I've read where, people are taking the record home, they're opening it up, they're putting it on their turntable, and so you've already committed, you've already spent your, $24.99 on the record, you sit down and listen to it, and so therefore you're not multitasking. You're actually hearing the music. You're actually sensing the music and what it means to you. And I think, as we do live in a world where technology has given us, the ability to multitask, as you just hit shuffle on your iPhone, I think
it's true.
It is so easy to just multitask and let it be in the background. And I definitely say thank God for vinyl coming back and the younger kids even getting into it. You can go to a store like Urban Outfitters and buy a record now,
Yeah, so, I mean, I would never spend $25 on. I mean, I'd be going. I'd still go through and dig through the crates at the Goodwills and to find the the killer albums. But I mean, if you would describe, can you talk about the vibe? You've been to a bunch of shows up in central Arizona. Here, I live down in Tucson. Describe the energy difference between, like, the Tempe, Mesa, Phoenix vibe versus a place that I'm going to be going down to in a couple months is Atlanta. Very well in the Southeast. Okay. What's the energy? What's the difference there? People talk about the East Coast being edgy, angsty, or just very edgy. But what? How would you describe the energy, the vibrational level of Phoenix versus your backyard of Georgia?
I think Phoenix. Phoenix is a melting pot, a lot like how cities in the South, like Atlanta, have been a melting pot for some time. And so I think, in that melting pot of Phoenix, we get our fair share of, California folks, that have come here. It's a little pricey to live in most places on the coast. So, you get the California folks. And I think that, that vibe definitely spills over, to where, Phoenix does get a little taste of that kind of, that laid back groove. We're all here for the community. We're all here to kind of embrace, the nostalgic of, the freak scene of the late 60s of California. It's
fascinating. So when you went to Flag to see CRB, there were
totally.
there were a bunch of California cats there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Flag is awesome. The band's been there 3 times since I've lived here, and I think, I don't speak to the band about it, but I know that the band must be getting something off playing Flagstaff.
It's a hip. But you think tonight in Tempe we will see California heads as well?
I think we'll see some California heads. I think we'll see a lot of first timers too, though.
Interesting, maiden voyage for people.
Yeah, I think we'll see some people that are curious. They've heard. They've listened to. They've ventured out to the fringe of music, and they've heard some things, and I think some people are going to come check it out that have not been to a show before. So yeah, I think we'll definitely see some main voyages. I think.
Do you feel like the southeastern cats are? I mean, I think it's got to be one of the warmest vibes.
Yeah.
But is it different than Phoenix?
Yeah, it's different. I mean, it's both have their positive traits. In the sense that you meet good people and whatnot. I love shows in the South. I love we saw them at the Variety Playhouse last fall. And
you went back just for the gig?
Yeah, we went back, visited family, stayed with my folks.
This is just so classic. You're such a freak.
And it's funny. We were in the audience, and there's always this one cat that's there, And he's got overalls. He's got the flask of of Crown or Jack Daniels or whatever, and
bourbon.
You could just smell it from him, and he taps you on the shoulder, and he's really nice, but he's been imbibing all night, and he's like, hey, how many times you seen these boys, kind of thing. And I think while that can be annoying at times, if a guy who's had a little too much tap you on the shoulder talk music during the show, there's definitely. Living out on the West Coast, there's something I miss about the South, and
there's an endearing quality.
Crowd.
I dig with the bumpkin kind of quality.
Yeah, that bumpkin quality you see in the South at times, and you kind of get this. There's always going to be some cats in the crowd that are like, I went to high school with that guy, because Chris is from the Atlanta area, and went to high school there, and shortly moved out, and he's really lived on the West Coast now, most of his life versus the South, but there is that endearing quality when you're in the South and you're seeing the show there, and it's definitely very much more of a traditional kind of, I don't know, like a bluesy, let's all go down to the rock and roll show kind of crowd of people in the South that want to go to a rock and roll show on the Friday night. They might be there thinking they're going to hear a Black Crowes song, but we're pretty polite in the South, so we wind up clapping and having a good time anyways. They don't hear a Black Crowes song.
Manners is very important in the South, but just for people out there, how is Chris Robinson in your mind? You saw him with the Crowes, I saw him with the Greenleaf Rustlers, but how has he evolved as a musician in your mind?
I think he's just really, not just necessarily in his head artistically, because, while the music is, it's multi-layers, you think like, wow, where does he come up with this stuff, as far as, the writing of the music. But I think the evolution is, he's so comfortable and he's so where he wants to be artistically that the music flows. And it's, there's such a cool cultural thing going on at the show no matter what city you're in, where, he's there, with his art, and he's proudly putting it out there, and it's not forced, like, not that the Black Crowes were ever forced, but, when you're in a rock and roll band like the Black Crowes and you're Chris Robinson, you're the front man, you're out there, just ripping, on the vocals, just giving that big, loud rock and roll sound when you sing. And I don't think he has to do that, in the sense that this is more of an equal group effort between him and the guys on the stage, and how it also resonates with the audience,
Just for people around the world, can you talk about how it's more of a group effort with the CRB as opposed to the Crowes? He didn't play an instrument in the Crowes. He just sang, right?
Exactly, yeah. He'd play guitar here and there when his brother would, do some vocals on some songs here and there. But yeah, for the most part, he was the front man, holding the microphone, dancing around, And I think as he's become a little older and wiser, he's gotten to this point with it where he doesn't need that, because the music is just flowing through him in a group situation, in a group setting, It's, even though he's the one singing, he's playing guitar, he's putting in the work too, just like, Neil is putting in his work, Adam's putting in the work, everybody's...
Tony Leone, Jeff Hill, great rhythm sections.
And I think it's easy with a traditional rock and roll band when you have a front man, like how Chris was in the Black Crowes, kind of like a Jimmy Page or a Mick Jagger, you just kind of, in the audience, you just fall in love with that, and that's where your focus is. And I definitely think with the CRB, it's an equal thing, the band is called Chris Robinson Brotherhood, but from what I read, putting his name in the band was just to kind of help them move ahead in the line when they first started booking gigs, but the Brotherhood really is a brotherhood in the sense that it is a group effort. It's a family up there on stage, so to speak.
What are you most looking forward to instrumentally tonight? I'm not going to, their set lists, they have a big bag of songs. Obviously, it'll be interesting to see how much they stretch out with Lo Iacano. I think it's great that Hill and Leone will be a supportive rhythm force for him.
Yeah.
Because it's not an easy thing just to step in like that.
Yeah, totally.
But instrumentally, like, what are you looking forward to most? When was the last time you saw him, and what are you looking forward to most tonight?
My last show was in July at Flagstaff. So
you were Flag.
Yeah. So yeah, Flagstaff show was The last time I saw them, and they were on. It was a good show. I was totally digging it. I love that venue. I love that town in general. As far as tonight, I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing what Greg brings to the band. I'm looking forward to
Greg Loiacono, man.
And then there's this sound that is definitely defined by Adam too. I mean, you'll notice so many of those songs are just led, with his keyboard skills. I love that shit. It's there's a reason why they call him the keyboard wizard, man. It's like he just, the way he leads those songs. I mean, he always has me. If my eyes are anywhere on the stage, for any, period of time, it's usually just the magic he's working. So I always look forward, no matter what city I'm in, to, seeing Adam work his magic on the keys.
Why did you open Bonnie and Clyde? Where did this come from, this boutique salon?
Where did this come
it's so
from?
cool. It's like only an hour and a half from where I live. And,
Are you coming for haircuts now?
I'm coming to get my beard trimmed too, man. Yeah. I mean, what I'm saying is, this is like, I mean, it's so serendipitous, but where did the concept come from?
The concept to me was kind of, I moved here, we bought a salon. The salon that we bought had a different name, and we were just buying the business. And then when it came time for us to kind of put our own stamp on the business by having our own name, I just really kind of wanted to pay homage to, the region, so to speak, of Arizona. And and then Bonnie and Clyde kind of came to mind because we are a couple. We're the main people working here. We haven't robbed banks or killed anyone yet. Luckily, business has never been that bad. But, I think Bonnie and Clyde, in many ways, too, we kind of felt like it was, us against the world, being the new cats in town doing hair. I couldn't give a haircut away, It was very, like any, new business owner, it was very stressful. So you kind of have a chip on your shoulder. You kind of have that, like, yeah, we're Bonnie and Clyde, We're out here, taking people by force, one haircut at a time. And I think that's where it came from. But it was also kind of a tongue-in-cheek, homage to the region of Arizona and, what Bonnie and Clyde did historically, as bank robbers, as a couple,
Well, and as a team, it's easier to go up against the world. You've won over some clients. How long have you guys been here?
5 years now we've been in
wow.
business,
So you're fully entrenched.
Yeah. We do well. We're cutting out a little early for the rock and roll show today, but yeah.
I was going to say, I mean, Chris and Leone, those guys need haircuts. So if they're in town, they should come by Bonnie and Clyde.
If they need a trim, I mean, we are the official Freak Scene hair salon.
Such a beautiful venue, Lafe Lowman. I can't wait to get down with you tonight, man. It's such an honor to hang with you, brother.
Yeah, totally.
All right, man. Thank you so much for being part of the program.
You too. Thank you, bro.
See you soon.